Okay, so we are in chapter 4, verse 2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is, appears to be lost. So this is very important. Course of time, succession was broken, not because the science was lost. The science as it is appears to be lost. So, which basically means that dilution, deviation from the original message, not necessarily grossly like the parampara was lost. So it looks like that had happened previously also, that there was as it is message was not retained. So today also this is very important for us in ISKCON, that we actually try and maintain the message as it is. Purport. It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Meant for saint because they were to execute its purpose. Its purpose is what? Is to let people come to the stage of Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So which means through Varnashrama system, enabling people to reach the goal of life. That is the purpose. So in the way in ruling their citizens, ruling over the citizens, they execute its purpose, which means that they allow the citizens to reach the final goal of life. That is why it was required for saintly kings, because they are administrators, and if they create a good environment for people to pursue this final goal, then they have done their duty perfectly. Without the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, administrators, kings, they cannot really execute their duty well. And this is true for all leaders, not just saintly kings. Right? Even that is why Bhagavatam says, Guru na sasyat, janani na sasyat, pita na sasyat. So as parents, present or future, we also have the same responsibility, that we have to execute its purpose in bringing up our children, in taking care of our family. The same purpose has to be executed. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demoniac persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. So this is not for people who want to draw some self-centered or swartha, their own self-interest from Bhagavad Gita, like famous politician in our country did, drawing out some meaning out of Bhagavad Gita which is actually not there, which is not given by Guru Sadhu Shastra, by disciplic succession. It was not meant for demoniac persons. It was meant for saintly kings. So only people who are really saintly will come to Bhagavad Gita and receive the message as it is. Otherwise, they will get lost. There are so many people who claim to have studied Bhagavad Gita. But if they are not saintly, then they will try to derive some self-motivated meaning out of it, according to personal whims. Then nobody will get the benefit, because then the value is dissipated, but nobody will get benefit from it because the real message is lost. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish. So, like I said, it was not that the parampara was not there, but the parampara was lost because the original purpose was scattered, was lost. So there arose a need to re-establish the disciplic succession. Disciplic succession by definition means yatharup. It has to be as it is. So because this purpose got scattered, Krishna is saying here that it appears to be lost. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose of Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also, there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. So Prabhupada gave this Bhagavad Gita as it is to kind of as a solution to this problem that the original purpose of Gita was lost. Bhagavad Gita is, like in first verse we discussed, it's been in this creation, in this material universe for such a long time, but really its purpose was not getting fully fulfilled till Srila Prabhupada made his appearance. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. Prabhupada is so direct here. They make a good business, which means that they say, okay, our institution is based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. They set up so-called religious institutions. People donate money for helping them run their organizations, etc. So they make a good business, but it's all based on the words of Sri Krishna, because when somebody says that it is based on Bhagavad Gita, then people think, oh, okay, this is what Krishna said. Actually, most people I see they don't realize how important the parampara is. So say, I've read the Bhagavad Gita. But it's not about, because obviously we reading Bhagavad Gita doesn't have any, not relevant, because most important thing is who we are reading from, whose Bhagavad Gita, who has presented the Bhagavad Gita, who has translated the Bhagavad Gita. So it's of no use if you have read Bhagavad Gita from anybody and everybody, right? There are so many professional writers who have written about Bhagavad Gita, so many philosophers, so many impersonalists. If somebody who has presented Bhagavad Gita does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, first of all, they should understand who is Krishna, what does Supreme Personality of Godhead mean, how Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, for which they should have read other Shastra. If they simply sit and interpret, saying that I know Sanskrit, then they will derive some other meaning out of it. It's so surprising, actually, when we read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, that actually Krishna, every verse Krishna is actually talking about bhakti only. Even when he is talking about Jnana Yoga, Prabhupada is saying how this is relevant in bhakti. Even if he is talking about Dhyana Yoga, we can see how those verses are relevant for practice of bhakti. So at the end of the day, it is to understand and accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, you just make a good business out of Krishna's words. And this spirit is demoniac, because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. So pretty much most people in Kali Yuga are demons, because they do not believe in God, because they don't even know who God is. According to them, anybody and everybody is God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. So Krishna so mercifully has given us this whole material creation, given us water, air, everything, and we are simply enjoying his property. So Prabhupada is saying pretty much this is demoniac mentality, and such people, they cannot understand Bhagavad Gita, or they cannot present Bhagavad Gita. Since there's a great need of an edition of the Gita in English as it is received by the Parampara system, an attempt is made here with to fulfill this great want. Prabhupada is being so humble here. He's saying an attempt is being made, and it was the most successful presentation. Bhagavad Gita accepted as it is. Accepted as it is. Now, one may present it as it is, but if one doesn't accept it as it is, then also it will become useless. So if it is accepted as it is, then it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, meaning somebody thinks, okay, this person has written, who has interpreted Bhagavad Gita? Okay, this person has interpreted Bhagavad Gita. Another person also has interpreted Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, just accept this as a philosophy, somebody's speculation about what Krishna has said. Then it's a waste of time. So it has to be accepted in parampara as it is, authorized parampara, and only then it will have its impact. So one has to be saintly. One has to be saintly for this. If you have ulterior motives, then one cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. One can of course not present Bhagavad Gita, but one cannot even understand Bhagavad Gita. Because it's so interesting. Actually, the same lines in Bhagavad Gita, two different people will understand in two different ways, even though Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita itself. Right? So the more we are pure, the more we are surrendered, the more we will be able to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. So it's very important that we don't interpret. So we should not interpret. So interpret means that we read a line. If you are not able to understand, we don't give our own meaning in that sense, right? But we should try to understand with reference to Bhagavatam, with reference to other scriptures that have been presented, and try to correlate, saying that, okay, this verse here is saying this, so maybe this means this. And then, of course, we should consult senior devotees, guru, so that we don't create some our own interpretation. This is very important. So this is the complete basis for why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is so authentic. This verse supports Prabhupada's effort. Okay. 4.3. स एवायं मया चेत्या योग प्रोक्त पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं ह्येतदुत्तमम्. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme. And so here Prabhupada is expanding to say, what is this? What does Bhagavad Gita contain? Bhagavad Gita actually contains science of relationship with the Supreme, Sambandha Gnan. It's today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of the science. So most important thing is bhakta. Of course, we can be sakha, you can be in any of the other rasas. But the most important thing is one has to be a devotee. If one is not a devotee, then one cannot understand the transcendental mystery. This is a transcendental mystery. Mystery means it's difficult to understand. This is not a material mystery. It's a transcendental mystery. One who is materially on the material platform can possibly try and understand material mystery. Like for example, if there's a some mystery based on science, somebody who understands science can possibly try and crack that mystery. So somebody who's on the transcendental platform can only understand this mystery. So that is why Prabhupada says that it has to be understood in connection with the devotee of Krishna. Only a devotee of Krishna can understand what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. So, which is why when we are reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, then we are very safe because we know we are exactly we are understanding it as it is, because Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Krishna and he is presenting what Krishna presented to Arjuna. Only devotee, this like businessmen have their own language, like the devotees have their own language, and the Lord interacting with his devotees, that language can be understood only by devotees. So only a devotee can understand and then present the message. Also because basically Bhagavad Gita is also about practical realization. One would have experienced these things in one's life, so it's easy to correlate, saying, "Oh yeah, okay, this I've understood, this I've experienced." So this is what Krishna is saying. So this is Bhagavad Gita is about Sambandha Gnan. What is the ultimate Sambandha? Is that of servant, surrender, depend on Krishna, and become his devotee. That is the relationship that Bhagavad Gita is establishing. Purport. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science, owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. Now, this is also, in one way, I can, to the extent that this demoniac mentality is there in us, we cannot understand the great mystery to that extent. So, like I said, the more pure we are, the more we can understand the mystery. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by devotees, some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of the demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demoniac, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. And poor readers, they don't know all this. So they simply accept whatever somebody is saying with full faith. That is why, people who pose themselves to be in knowledge, actually they are more dangerous than people who are grossly ignorant, because they will not take the position of teachers. But the so-called saints take the position of teachers, and they give wrong message to the people, misguiding them, misleading them. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay. 4.4. Arjunavacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katam etat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswani is senior by birth to you. How can I and how am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? The Prabhupada clarifies, why is Arjuna asking this question? Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord, and so how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them only Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the Personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything, the last word in transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remained the same personality of Godhead, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is the supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present but from time immemorial, and the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put his question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons, who always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. So this is very important actually. Arjuna is very intelligent. So he is asking Krishna only to tell about his position. Because if Krishna only speaks, those who at least accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead will know the real situation, the real position. Because otherwise, if demons interpret and there is no there's no direct answer from Krishna, then whatever demons have interpreted might itself be considered as, or demons present might itself be considered as the truth. So Arjuna, instead of him presenting, he is saying, okay, Krishna's answer will be more authentic than my answer. He is asking Krishna himself to answer. It is necessary that everyone for his own interest know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange, because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. This is very interesting what Prabhupada is making. So many people who don't believe in Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, they say, why Krishna is boasting so much about himself? So they look at it from their own standpoint, saying that, okay, if I were talking, if I put myself in Krishna's shoes, which we cannot, but they'll think if I put myself in Krishna's shoes, then how come, like, why Krishna is speaking so much about himself? So it's a bit strange, because normally materially we don't try to boast so much about ourselves. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. Yes, when we read Bhagavad Gita and when we see Bhagavan Uvacha, it feels so nice. Oh yes, Krishna is speaking. So for devotees, it's hard. We welcome the statements of Krishna. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna, because they're always eager to know more and more about him. This is one of the qualities of a pure devotee. As we progress in Krishna consciousness, we should develop this desire to know more and more about Krishna, to hear more and more about Krishna. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Sachidananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, that he is transcendental, and that he is above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. For the atheists consider Krishna an ordinary man. They can understand the supremacy of the Lord. A devotee of Krishna, like Arjuna, is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna is putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being, subject to the modes of material nature. Now, unless Srila Prabhupada, who is himself a pure devotee, unless he had presented this purport to us, we wouldn't have also been able to understand how to, why Arjuna is asking this question. That is why we need parampara. And so clearly, Prabhupada is explaining the reason why Arjuna is asking this question. Otherwise, somebody might interpret, oh, see, Arjuna was in illusion completely. Even forgot what is Krishna's position. He's asking him. And we might offend a pure devotee like Arjuna. So it's very important that we hear from acharyas, from pure devotees, so that we understand. In fact, in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada, in most of the purports, is defending Arjuna. On one end, he seems to be saying, okay, Arjuna is in material compassion. On the other end, he's saying he's fit for liberation. He's so self-controlled. So first chapter, we discussed this. It seems pretty confusing. But Prabhupada constantly is attempting to, his thought is that people should not offend Arjuna, pure devotee, because then in reading Bhagavad Gita, but offending a pure devotee, then they will not get the benefit of the reading. Acharyas they help us really understand the message as it is. So Krishna will answer, knowing Arjuna's mind. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuni me vyatitani janmani tavata Arjuna tanyam sarveda sarvani natvam vetta parantapa. First and God had said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of enemy. So even though you are the subduer of enemy, you cannot remember all this. You might be a great hero, but you cannot still remember all this. Only I can remember. In the Brahma Samhita, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayam Vanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Person of Godhead, Govinda, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning. He is the original person, he is absolute, without change, he is infallible. Prabhupada explains this in the first chapter, infallible in terms of expressing his love towards his devotees. He doesn't fall from that position. Also, irrespective of what services he does or what roles he plays based on his devotees' request, he doesn't fall from his supreme position. And he has no beginning. He's without beginning. Although expanded into unlimited forms, he's still the same original, the oldest and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. So this is so inconceivable. He has unlimited forms, but he's still the same original. He doesn't change. And Narayana and Krishna are the same, but moods are different. He's the same person. It's amazing. As in, how can it be the same person? It's like, we've heard of Jekyll and Hyde, but we can't imagine Krishna's opulence. Where, like, in Bhagavatam, we have heard, like, how gopis look at Narayana and Krishna in Narayana form. Krishna takes Narayana form, and gopis look at it and say, okay, they offer obeisance and say, okay, did you see where Krishna is? So absolutely no attraction towards Narayana, though he's none other than Krishna. So it's inconceivable how Krishna appears in different forms. He has various incarnations. He enables some with certain qualities. All same person, still the same original, oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. There's also, and actually also those who are engaged in bhakti, they also experience freshness in bhakti day in and day out. And that is also Krishna also looks like a fresh youth every day. No change. Eternally, he's same age. Eternally, he is 15, 16 years. That's all he is eternally. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars. All-knowing forms of the Lord, but they are always manifest to pure unalloyed devotees. So it's not important that one be a scholar. Scholar cannot understand Krishna. Bhaktosi me sakacheti, like we discussed. So only a devotee can understand Krishna. It's also stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murti Shukalani Amena Tishtan Nanavataram Akarot Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyu Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations, such as Rama, Nrsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well, but who is the original Personality of Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. In the Vedas also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone, which changes color, yet still remains one. All those multi-forms are understood by the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Vedeshu durlabam, adurlabam atma bhakto. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. Prabhupada is saying he was present in a different capacity, in a different role. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incident, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. It's very important to understand. No one can become equal to the Lord, however great that personality might be. The Lord is described in the Brahman Samhita as infallible, Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he's in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Because materially, even though he's in touch with materially, we are in touch materially, and as soon as we give up this body, we forget everything. But since Krishna doesn't change his body at all, even if he's in, and he's anyway owner of all the creator of these material energies, he's not affected by that. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord, but by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand this transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demoniac brains. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years ago, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Sachidananda body. Is Advaita, which means that there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything is spiritual. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. So Krishna's body and himself are all spiritual. There's no difference. Unlike for us conditioned souls, the body is material, but the Atma is spiritual. The soul is spiritual. But for Krishna, everything is spiritual. And he doesn't change his body because it's all spiritual. We change our body because material body deteriorates. But for the spiritual body, nothing happens. It doesn't deteriorate. So no need to change. And even when he descends to the material platform, his position remains. Demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord because they look at him from their viewpoint, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. We'll continue in the next session.